So after equations, we are going to move on to inequalities. Inequality symbols should sound familiar. This first box, for some reason this printed wrong. This first box is greater than. The next box is for less than. The other two you can see. So we're going to start with writing inequalities. So we're going to write out words that help you identify which inequality symbol it would be. So for greater than, it might say greater than. Might say more than. Larger. Could say above. Anything that means they want more than the number showing, or a number bigger than the number you see. So the next one for less than, it could say less than, smaller, below. So anything that means they want something smaller than whatever number you see. Next one is greater than or equal to. You could also say minimum, because that's the smallest number they want. So it's a minimum. It's not going to be any smaller than that number, so you want something bigger. At least, same thing. That's the smallest it would be, so you would want it to be bigger. Or not smaller than. So it could be that number, but you don't want it to be smaller than that number. And the last inequality symbol is less than or equal to. So we would have maximum this time. At most. Or not greater than. Or you could say not larger than. You could replace that with any of the other words. So when we're writing them out, there sometimes will be operations to go with them, just like in equations. We reviewed this in equations. I'm just going to write them back out just to remind you. Addition could be sum, all together, increase, plus, more, or if they want the total. So those are also in your equation notes. Same thing with subtraction. You get a difference, a decreased, less, fewer, minus. You could simply say subtracted. And then reminders on multiplication and division. Multiplication might say per. If you're working so much per hour, you multiply by how many hours. Times product. Some of the most common ones you see. Division, you have quotient. Split. Divided by or into. They could also say per. If you want to split something per person, you would be dividing by how many people. Same thing with sharing. It's kind of like split. So that should all be a review from equations. You should have seen these symbols sometime last year. So, shouldn't all be brand new to you. So for an example, so it's in words, we're gonna write out the inequality. It says a number. They don't tell us what number, so that's where you're gonna put a variable. Then it says decreased. Well, we know decreased means subtraction. So we're gonna subtract something. It says by 9, so there's what we're subtracting by. And it says is. We didn't review that above, but is always your equal sign. And it says no more than. Well, no more than would go with not greater than. So it's less than or equal to. So you don't want anything bigger than that. And then they don't want anything bigger than 4. Just take it one little part at a time. Sorry. So then we write it out. We would have x subtracted by 4 is less than or equal. Oh, whoops, sorry. Subtracted by 9 is less than or equal to 4. Got ahead of myself. So x minus 9 is less than or equal to 4. So then we'll go over the steps for how you do this. Remember, you can always pause this video at any time you need to catch up. So step 1, identify the inequality symbol by looking at the circle. So this is when you're looking at it from a graph also. And the direction of the arrow. The top part goes over how when it's graphed, how to identify. The variable goes on the left. So just get in the habit of keeping it on the left if at all possible. And then you write your inequality. You can check it by picking a point. Along the arrow and substituting it into the inequality. So if you want something that's greater than 5, you would pick 6 to plug it in. 6 is greater than 5, so that makes that true. So first one, if it's a filled in circle and it's going to the right, you're going towards the greater number. So it's greater than, the filled in makes that equal to. It includes whatever number. Opposite of that is less than or equal to. It's going to the left, so it's less than. And as long as your variable is on the left side, you can also look at how it's pointing. Matches how the arrow is going. Same thing with less than. It's pointing to the left where the arrow is going. Then open circle to the left is less than. Open circle to the right is greater than. So, next part goes back over writing it from the words, just like we did on the example on the front. Identify the key words, identify operations, pick your variable, write the inequality. So number 1 says, yeah, I'll number them. Number 1, the sum of a number and 3 is no more than 8. So we're adding a number and 3. There's our variable, adding it with 3. Is no more than. So we don't want anything bigger than 8. So we know it's less than. It could be 8 though. It just doesn't want it to be bigger than 8. So it's also equals to. So if x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 8. Number 2 says the difference of a number and 4 is at least 10. So we're subtracting a number and 4. It's at least 10. So we know we need 10, then we gotta think about at least. Could it be 10? Yes, it just wants it to be at least 10. So that means anything 10 and greater. So greater than or equal to 10. Number 3, the maximum number of students who can fit on one bus is 45. So we have maximum, and it's 45. So I'm gonna pick S as my variable since I'm talking about students. We know we're looking at the number 45. Can 45 people ride on that bus? Yes. So it's equals to. Can more than 45? No. So it's less than. Sorry. Should have brought my water over here. So number 4, she wants to sell more than 10 boxes of cookies. So we're talking about cookies and 10. Does she want to sell 10? No, she wants to sell more than 10. So it's not equals to. She wants to be bigger, so it's greater than 10. So those are the notes. I'm gonna go over one of the homework problems from the graphing. So this will be posted as a separate assignment, but I'm gonna go through number 1 with you. So it's at number -5, and you have a variable. So it's first step, variable, your number that the dot is at. It's an open dot, so that means it's not equals to, and it's going to the right. So it's going towards the bigger numbers, so it's greater than. The back or the second page of the worksheet, I don't remember which one's posted first in the attachment, is in words, and you write it out just like those examples we were doing. So I'll go through one just to remind you. It says a number decreased by 5. So number decreased is subtraction. Our number is 5. We have at most 33. So you have to think, can it be 33? Yep, so it's equals to. It's at most. So the biggest it's gonna be is 33. So you want less than or equals to. So that's what you're doing on this page. So that is writing inequalities. Next week we'll build on that. But just make sure you complete the worksheet.